started working on admin service, right? So for this, we created configuration service, one cloud config server we created, and from that cloud config only, we configured all the database connection properties in this cloud config. This cloud config used to inherit from a Git repository that all we created. Okay, all has been to anyway. So we understand the architecture. So as per architecture, we started working on admin service. Let me open it. Yeah. So this is what we started with first, admin service to manage the manager, to create manager, to delete, to edit, right? We implemented a backend service using this architecture, right? This is what we have used. So as per this architecture, we are creating a separate front end for each backend, and we have one configuration server to keep application configurations centralized. So one config server and one gateway we are using here. One config server and one gateway. Same thing. Yeah, here you can see. So we have created config. From that config only, we are fetching properties to connect with our database. The same thing we have done here as part of our admin service. I created a separate workspace for it. Okay, there I am working. We will be creating, for now we have one backend service only. For that backend, we will be creating front end also. Let me show step by step what we have done so far. So from there, we will continue without losing the connectivity, right? Yeah. Once again, let's see. First thing is for my admin service application, whatever connection properties I need, whatever connection properties, Hibernate configurations I need, usually you should configure within your Spring application properties file. But to centralize that, I have not configured them here. Instead of configuring them here, I am trying to importing all the properties from cloud, so that I will have as an admin, let's say if you want to take control of all your applications, usernames, password changes, whenever you want to change or Hibernate configurations. So if you want to get some control over your properties, instead you giving them to developer. So developers might, add some properties here which may not suitable across all your applications. So if you want to take that control, keep configurations in cloud and fetch them here. In Spring Boot we have cloud concept, Spring cloud config concept. Using that concept we can able to get configurations from cloud. So you can have configurations in your Git repo. From there, from Git repo, we can fetch your properties into cloud config server. So cloud config can able to fetch your Git properties. Here you will be having all your properties, right? Properties with properties file or YML file. You can have properties or YML file, and you know that you can have properties for all environments. All environments, all your environments properties you can have here. Not only your development, right? Development, SIT, UAT, production, every property you can configure here, right? Your cloud config server can able to inherit these properties into this application. Okay, this is one simple repository. Maintain it in Bitbucket or Git. We created it in Git. Okay, so under Git I created all these properties. From there, my cloud config server can get it. So as I mentioned here, you can have all your properties, including your local. In local, if you have one different set of properties, for dev environment, if you have different set of properties for SIT, UAT, and production. I have different servers. Each server I have different set of properties. You can have all the properties here. We can call them like profiles. Environment you can call like a profile. Profiles. So any number of profiles you can configure here. So your cloud config can fetch all that profiles data. So during execution of your application, right? During execution of your application, in admin service you will be writing lot of classes, including your properties file. You will be having all your classes, including properties file here. So these properties will not have, these properties will not have any data. These properties will not have any data. Just we will be configuring cloud server here. Cloud config server we will configure here so that these properties will be inherited via cloud config. So while inheriting them, which environment properties it will get during execution of this project, right? Or in your properties files, if you configure your profile here, Spring Active profile, let's say if you configure dev here, active profile, if you configure dev in your properties file, it will fetch dev properties from your repo. If you configure UAT properties from your repo. If you configure production properties from your repo. So this is configurable or runtime. At runtime, as a command line argument, right? You can pass this environment. I have given that command also, right? Last session we have seen that. Okay, so using something Java hyphen jar, your jar name, right? Your jar name space environment hyphen spring dot active dot profile is equal to, you can pass your required profile while execution via Java command. So this can be configured in pipelines also. That is also we discussed, right? I don't see that pictorial presentation here. Somewhere we draw. Let me see. This is the one, right? Yeah, this is the one. So each environment properties files you can have here, right, in your cloud config server, and it can able to pull the properties. It can able to pull the properties from your Git repository, and each service while running, right, you can run it in your dev branch, SIT branch, UAT branch, production branch. While execution, right, we will be changing this property. We will be changing this property so that, so this configuration also will be done in your CI/CD. So while configuring the CI/CD and execution, right, we will change this profile name. So based on the profile, it will pick up all the properties and it will deploy suitable deployment copy into your servers. When it deployed into prod, your code should have connected with the production database only, right? And the production port numbers only you should have. How you will ensure that only your production database connectivity logic only you have here via these profiles, you will ensure that via these profiles only, you can ensure that it is picking up the properties of production only from your properties file. Okay, this we learned fully, right? Cloud configuration, how to do, we understand clearly. And first step, what we did is we have configured a Git repository. We created one Git account. Under that Git account, we have posted. Yeah, this is the data, right? So this is the data application properties, and here I have multiple environments data. Spring config dot active on profile. When profile is dev, this property will help you to pick up. When it will pick up these properties, this property will pick up these properties when you run your jar with that particular environment name. Here I given what dev. So when I give dev here, which properties it will pick up from this dev properties. If I use SIT here instead of dev, if I configure here SIT during execution, if I pass SIT here, then immediately it will pick up the properties from SIT profile. So this is SIT profile. So from here, it will pick up these properties, SIT profile properties. Similarly, you can have any number of environment properties here. So same file you can keep it as YML file also here. This is properties, right? You can have YML file also, application.yml. Application.yml. If you don't know how to create YML file, just configure properties. I'm just creating a simple Java project. Okay, simple Spring Boot project just for utilities. Okay, one simple project I create demo. Just this one I will use like a workshop. I will do all my you know samples here so that I can ensure I don't disturb this code. So just for practice I will use this. So what I got to here, YML file, right? So here you can keep all your properties into properties file. As it is, all your properties you can configure. Just a minute. 24. Give it a minute. It should have imported them in the background. Import 40 40 90 100. Yeah, yeah, I got all the data here. Now usually we will see it by YML file, right? First compose all your properties into properties file, single properties file only. Now when you want to convert it, just use the converter and convert it properties to YML. Okay, okay. So I have one single URL. Okay, it is saying implicit make is need to followed by map values tag, not allowed to identification font character. Okay, next line not allowed. So if you see here, Spring config active on profile. So it observed that, see how smart YAML is. It observed that we have duplicate values. We have duplicate values. Everything I duplicated except one URL. That's why two URLs is copied here and two environments it is given here. Okay. So you can have like this. So you can have active profile demo. Only one profile I have here. If you need multiple profiles data, still you can configure. Here put a line separator and you can put next environment data here. That's it, right? Simple line separator is sufficient. Or how it works. Do you know? Usually this is what we put, right? A simple line separator, which is common, right? You can remove the common properties. YML line separator. You can see multiple YMLs also you can have for multiple environments. One YML. Multiple we can do, single file also we can do. Yeah, it's okay. With the simple line separator only, I used to put here. Um, I'm suspecting, right? This one or something a comment, something I used to do. Okay, we will do it again. Spring active profile is a duplicate SIT. Okay. Or else for now, let me create multiple YMLs. This is default YML. If you want to create one for dev, use your environment name here as underscore and put YML file underscore or hyphen dev.yml. Each environment YML you can create SIT, UAT, prod. You can have each environment properties you can have here. Same file, right? Same file. You can same files you can upload into your Git repository. Same files, right? You can upload them into your Git repository here, into your Git repo here. Any number of YMLs or any number of properties or single property or single YML. Okay, this is the first thing that you need to learn. Okay, so you need to configure all your properties into cloud config server. From here, I'm fetching it. I'm fetching it into my cloud configuration server. This is also one project. It need to run along with your services. Okay, this is also one project. It need to run along with your services. Only in one place. Let's say if you have five servers, for admin one server, for manager one, for seller one. Okay, so you have to run one service for all of their services. Those services, admin or manager, can fetch properties from this cloud config server. If somewhere remotely, if this config server is configured somewhere remotely, what you need to do in such case when it is deployed, right? So you need to give, instead of local host, right? You need to pass that particular mission remote IP address, so that using that IP it will connect with your cloud config server wherever you deploy it. You just need to give the link of this config server if you deployed it into EC2 or if you deployed it into Linux. Just give that remote path into your configuration, so that it will fetch properties from that cloud config server. Okay. So as I'm giving SIT profile here, so it will pick properties of SIT only, which are configured here. SIT properties only it will pick. Now, so cloud config server is implemented. How will we implement it? So during creation of this cloud config server, just choose config server dependency, cloud config server dependency. That's enough. Yeah, cloud config server dependency is enough, and here I am using Spring 2.7 only. You can use any latest version, no issues. You can use any latest version, and you can put latest Java based on your application requirement. Okay, so one main class also you need to implement by configuring enable config server. Just by configuring enable config server, that's it. You need not to do anything else apart from it. Okay, so just include your git path, your config server port number, enable configuration server, and form file cloud config server dependency, spring cloud config server dependency. That's it. Config server is ready. So when I start this config server, it should able to connect with your git. It should able to connect with your git here, and it should able to acquire all these properties. It should able to get all these properties, which all properties you have here. It should able to read into your local. It should able to read them into your local. It will read them into your local. Okay. Yeah. So now this application is started. Okay, this application always you need to start. This application should start always while you are working on your microservices. Why? Your microservice is always depending on this configuration server only. Configuration server dependency you have here. So without this configuration server, you cannot get the properties. Without configuration server, you cannot get these properties. So always you better to start config server before starting your microservices, so that config server will fetch properties and it will make it readily available for you, because I am not configuring any property here, just importing properties from my cloud config server only. Okay, fine. Coming to my microservice, admin microservice need to do what? This admin microservice, as per my use case, admin microservice should able to manage the users, That is the first use case. So usually I will start from repository. Backend to front end I will implement. Okay, backend to front end I will implement. Usually, I will be implementing this way. First, step one, you need to create your entity here. You need to create entity which is mapping to your table. You need to create your entity which is mapping to your table. Okay. So first step, create a package con dot. Okay. pick a common package name here, or else during application creation, right, you have chosen one package. Or let me create from scratch one more project, spring starter project. Create a spring starter project, admin service, already available, right? Microservice one, admin service. Okay, so if you choose, if you see here, we used latest version only. We used latest version configurations only, spring 3.13. And the dependencies you can see, spring web added for tomcat and writing rest code. Okay, and we added validations just to do validations of your inputs. And we added data jpa to use jpa in the application. And we use mysql to connect with mysql database. Theme leaf libraries added, not required. Okay, I'm not using them because we don't have any ui. So this web jars also not required. If you have web application, pure web application, you can include them. Okay, theme leaf web jars. So I'm not creating it as a web project, I'm just creating it as a microservice project. And this is for documentation. If you want to share your application methods which you all implemented, right, which you all implemented, if you want to share your methods access to see what is your method signature, what is input, what is output, right? To test, you need not to implement any, you need not to implement any specific postman collections. Automatically, Swagger UI will generate postman collections for you, so that it helps you to test and your team to test, and you can share that with the integration team people also, so that they can able to understand how your API is implemented, so that they should able to easily understand what are the inputs and outputs. And this is Lombok for setters and getters. Dev tools for live restarts. So to do live restarts, and cloud starter config. This is to enable your application as a cloud client. I'll be acquiring properties from cloud config server. To use that cloud config server, you need to use cloud starter config. Bus. That's it. So with the same dependency structure, you can create a project, new. Are you all with me? Yeah. So create a project, new Spring Starter project, admin service. So Java 17, keep your package name. So across my applications, I want to use com.company name, right? If you are working for e-commerce is for RPU, put your client name RPU, dot your application name e-commerce. So com.rbu.ecommerce application. So ecom is my application name plus. You might put com.rbu as a group, ecom also as a group, so that all your applications follow same standard. Okay, now coming to the dependencies. Coming to the dependencies here. First dependency, add web. Okay, add web dependency, Spring Web. And for validating request, right? For validations, you can add validation dependency. And what else we saw? Data JPA, Spring Data JPA. And what else we see? To connect with MySQL, MySQL driver. MySQL driver to connect with your database, Spring Data JPA to provide you repository classes, validation API to validate your input request, web API for Tomcat and writing REST controllers. And what else we have? Solution, actuator, yeah, and dev tools also you can add. for library stats, dev tools, and Swagger not available. Document, OpenIO document we added, right? Okay. So that is a separate dependency. And cloud config client also we added, right? Cloud config client plus next finish. So then it will start getting importing your libraries when you create your project, right? By default, it okay Gradle project. Right, so didn't I choose Maven? Okay, you have option also converted to Maven. Okay, so Gradle build created with all your dependencies. Same thing you can compare, right? If you can spend some time, you can see all these versions which you have configured here. They configured as part of plugins your version, Spring IO version, Spring Boot version, group name, version name, same alternatives you have, whichever version you have, your application versions. So when we used to do the updates in our application, right, continuously, we update these versions here, 1, 2, 3, or 1.0, 1.0.1, 1.0.2, 1.0.3. Like that, we can continuously increase these versions. And your Java compatibility repositories getting from Maven Central only, all the dependencies. So external property or what it is, yeah. Spring Cloud version 2022, some version configured, and all the dependencies. Actuator, data JPA, validation, web, config, dev tools, and MySQL dependency, testing dependencies. Mostly the same. So during creation, I think I created it as a brand. So for Gradle, you have just refresh option. We will have one session for Gradle and Maven for tools. Okay. So for now, just convert it into Maven, enabling Maven dependencies. Okay. So form completely not converted. Oh, dependencies we need to add here. Let me put the same dependencies. Application name MS admin service. Mostly same configurations. One extra property that we took is we have taken is Spring Document API. Okay, Spring Document API for generating Swagger. Something went wrong. Let me delete and recreate it. Delete, yes. Delete from disk also. New Spring Starter project. Yes. Choose wisely here. Maven. Final packaging is jar. Language Java. Package name. Fine. Config client. Web tools. Validation. MySQL driver. Data GPA. Actuator. Web. Finish. Yeah. Now just I will add validation everything hopefully added. Spring Cloud dependency 2.2. Yeah. So the document dependency also added here. Cool. Almost the same project is created. Once project is created, you need properties here, right? So I don't have any default properties. First I will start with my port number. Server port is equal to something 9090. I'll configure. And I need to fetch properties from config server. So for the config server, one property you should be configuring here. Spring.cloud import. Give your cloud config server path. Now, there you have multiple properties. So if you want to use specific property from your configuration server, put that profile here. Dev or SIT or UAT, which environment you want to connect. That's it. Done. So basic configurations are available now. Yeah. So enable discovery client to pick up your cloud properties. Yes. Now start focusing on this implementation. First we have to start from entity, which is mapping to your database table. So let's create entity first. I don't have packages here. So create a package and always try to ensure whatever packages you're gonna create, right? That all packages need to fall under this root package. Okay? Try to keep all your packages under this root. For entities, you need to create com.argue.ecom.model. Here you can put your model objects or JPA models, you can name it anything. Any any useful name or understandable names you can configure here. You may put entity also or JPA entities also, JPA dot entity also. It's up to you. So if you can mention good package naming convention here, people can easily understand. People can easily understand what there inside this package. So here you can create your entity. I'll be copying. I don't create it. I'll be copying it directly. My JPA. Excuse me. Just a minute. Hello. Okay. So here is my manager entity. I'll be creating it. Why getters and setters are not available? The reason is Lombok not added. Go to add status, add Lombok. Okay. Now I added into my local project. So Lombok is enabled. Cool. Right. Okay. I don't see. Do you see any errors? It looks good, right? Yeah. So manager class created. If you see here, this is my entity class, which is mapped to a table. So when your table name matches this not required at the rate table, but usually we will be configuring table annotation, and if you are not sure your bean name and table name are not matching right, use this GPA table annotation. It should be GPA table, right? Okay, persistence API move to Jakarta libraries. Okay, GPA table, table name. Just a minute, please. Will it struck? If we have manager, something different table naming conventions, manager or ecom manager. Usually, database people will use same application name, hyphen, table names, or underscore table names. This is how they create. So if you have such naming convention, different naming convention than your B, you can have. And column names also. If column names are different there and here, you can use at the rate column and pass column name. Okay, for now, just consider same column names I'm using. So ID, for ID I'm using at the rate ID as it is a primary key, and ID is not null, so I'm putting nullable false and updatable false. It should not updated. ID should not updated, should not null, which because it is a primary key. And generated value strategy I'm using identity. So usually it will generate plus one for each insert. And name, email address, pin code, phone, division, salary, country code. So the date created and date updated added. So automatically these two dates will be given inputs here. So same system date will be given. Now entity is ready. After entity, right? Next thing you need to create repository. Once after entity, you need to create. Once after entity, right? You need to create repository. Repository. So create a package. Shall I terminate this and restart? That may help. Okay. I will be terminating it and restarting it. Just let me terminate. Show task manager. Okay. Okay, it is done. Cool. Cool. Raj, just check it. Just 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Create rbu.ecom.gpa dot repository. Create a repository package and create your repo class here. Not class interface. Okay. Manager repository or repo. You need to. Did I updated the package? Oh, sorry. I modified the existing package. Manager shift. Cool. So here I have repository inside repo package. Extend this repository from JPA repository and put here your manager entity, which entity you have created for this repo. Manager entity and what is your primary key data type? Oh, not this. Excuse me. So here the data type is primary key data type is long. So put that long data type here. Bus. Your database DAO implementation also done. This is also done. Now you need to focus on your service. Okay. And the controller. So create a package for your services. Ecom service. Write your service classes here. Keep your service class here. Okay. Manager service. So this service should take input from controller and send it to repository. Okay. Just keep stereotype at the rate service. At the rate service. and keep all your methods here: public, int, create, manager, with the good naming conventions. And earlier I was saying, right, here you can directly put your manager entity as an input. This is mapped to your database. This is mapped to your database directly. So don't use such objects as the inputs to your service. So who need to pass it? From controller you need to get it. To controller who need to pass front end. So you should not expose your manager entity which is mapped to database table. Don't expose it to front end users. So create a separate entity, separate POSO which is DTO with the similar structure. DTO, create it in a DTO package. Create one more package for DTOs. Com dot argue dot ecom dot DTO. There put your manager DTO. If you are not talking, go to mute, okay? And there you put all your inputs. Which all inputs you want to take from user, put that inputs. ID I don't want because that is already generated. So just I need name, email, address, pin code, phone number, division, salary, country code. Bus. These two also will be created by your entity directly. That's it. I have these properties. Put them in your DT with the getters and setters. For that, simple data annotation must be sufficient. Okay. Now, put the data from controller to service via DT. Okay. Once you got data into this DTO, once you got data into this DTO, shift it to your model object. So I'll be getting a DTO object, but I can't directly save it into my repository. Manager repository auto rate your manager repo. I can call my manager repo dot save method and I can pass object. Which object? Manager object. So to pass manager object, I need a manager object here. Manager object here. Just a minute. Here. Manager, new manager. Populate the data which is coming through DTO, right? Put it into your object. For that, create a method public void map DTO to entity. So take your manager DTO, comma manager entity. You need to shift from one type to another type. The data is shifting here. So I'll be getting both the objects here by using pass by reference concept, right? I can set here data. ID is not required, just set the name which is coming from video, not get name. So set all your properties carefully here. Set name, set email, get email, set address, get address, set country code, get country code. Same naming conventions I am using. I think there are some utility methods you can use. Yeah, or else map it manually. Not a big task, right? Set country code, set division, which division the manager belongs to. Phone number. Object mapper already the class is there when you have similar properties. Okay, just to make sure my properties are not, not mapping um, to improper variables. I'm doing it manually, or else string object mapper something I used, or object mapper, object mapper I believe, object mapper. No, it's- no, no. See, setters and getters it created. I got input from controller as in the form of DTO. But DTOs I cannot save directly via repository. For repository, I need to give data in the form of entity only. Okay. I got a parcel in this way. I need to shift it to into this object. From this object to this object. Yeah. I want to map it. I want to shift the data from here to here. So for that shifting only, I am using it. There are some object utility classes, object utils. Yeah, yeah. There is some object utils for uh, map. Object mapper only from one type to another type. We will see that. Basically, there are some classes in Spring Library also they given object mapper only, which will follow same naming conventions. Entity is having name, DTO also having name. So directly this DTO get name value will be populated here. That's not a big deal, okay? It's a simple concept only. Entity dot set pin DTO dot get pin. And the remaining fields you need not to enter. In manager, right? I have ID field. This is auto generated. And the other fields like date created, updated, not required. Salary you can pass. Again important, okay? Salary. Entity dot set salary DTO dot get salary. Bus. So now data is shifted to this object to this object. But I didn't call it. You need to call it map DTO to entity. Now save this object. This method is doing immediate conversion from this object to this object. So in this object, this method is setting up your data. In next line when I use it right, this data will be utilized. So this manager DTO data shifted into this entity, that entity I am using here. What is this concept name we call? Without getting return type, just given reference, right? In this reference we set the data. That data still be available in next line. What we call it? Pass by reference. the data availability in the next statements. When you overwrite something in that specific object, that still will be available. Okay. So in this object, I have set all the data that will be available here. Okay. Save method. Finally, it will return you entity. So from that entity, I'll get ID. So ID, which is auto generated, right? Long ID. If it is long, this method also should be long. Return ID. That's it. Finally, one create manager method is created. Then this create manager method should be called by whom? Control. So you should be creating a package form dot argue dot ecom dot web class manager API or controller manager REST controller. Put at the rate REST controller annotation. Just a minute, guys. By doing answer. అచ్చా నేను మాట్లాడతాను సార్ మీకు చెప్తాను దాని డీటెయిల్స్ సరే సార్ so here you can write your API methods public manager object or just ID if you want to return response entity always remember this give the response in the form of response entity okay either it is your long simple primitive or void also give in the form of response entity only so that it can able to wrap your response object in the form of response entity. It can hold your status message also HTTP status including your response. Okay, so I need to return long ID whichever you return and create method like create manager. Put your API method here create manager or if you don't want showcase this names so you may put create method or save the input is DTU manager DTU so your request will be populated into DTU directly and across all my methods I want to use common URL only so at the rate mapping request mapping you can put your request mapping here request mapping path slash API slash version slash manager and this method is post method. Create methods are post methods always. So the data will be posted into this manager object. So from here what I should do? I need to share it to the service manager service. Just to auto while your manager service or put a parameter as a constructor automatically it will be auto while. So here you can call manager service dot create pass your DTO finally to give you response back wrap that response into this entity response object is equal to new response entity including your ID and the HTTP status code HTTP status HTTP status dot created 201 so finally return this response object bus. So my API method also got implemented. What else is missing? So I got the data here into this DTO. So validations we have not added it. API response code. Both are given, but yeah. This is for Swagger. While Swagger documentation generated, for Swagger also it will put that response code. And produces by default it produces JSON only, safer side, right? Hmm. Looks fine. And the request to body, it is default applied. Still, I'll be putting it. Valid annotation will do validations, but I have not applied any validations here. You put that validation annotations, not null. If you don't want to accept null parameters into this DTO, right? You may put them here, not null. So user compulsory should pass these parameters: pin code, phone number, division, salary. If it is integer, maybe not zero, not blank. Yeah, not null must be null. Okay. So now validations also apply to your entity. No specific validation methods, but the default validation methods it will show. Cool, right? Yeah, up to here is done. And did I miss anything? No, I don't see anything. Response, repository created, configuration, um, at exception handling configurations not required. Yeah. So this is one thing that we need to add. Domain configuration class. Create a config package and do this configuration. Com dot rbu dot ecom dot configuration or config package. Okay. So here I need to scan my entity jpa dot entity, and I need to scan my repositories so that they will be enabled. We have repo package, right? Pass repo package and your model package. So it will scan them. Yeah, bus. Almost done. Mm, This is controller class for UI. Yeah, hope I'm good. Now we can test it, okay? We can test it. some utilities implemented. Cool. Yeah. Properties file, port number 9090. Now let me run this project. Once you've done right, already it is auto build. If you want to build once again, you can use Maven build and do simple clean and install and just run it. So it is downloading all the required library, no test cases. Is it done? My God, what I got here? Is it executing my test case? Illegal argument exception. Right, so configuration is fine. com.rv.ecom jpa.entity. Sorry, it is model, right? Maven build almost. Go. Yeah. So the build is success at the end. So the basic implementation is done so far. Run this application now. Localhost 9090. First to check Swagger. Does it generated? Yes. It is showing your URL API slash version 1 manager. Only one method I have, right? So one method only. Manager rest controller. Manager rest controller. One method only I have. Why salary 255? Did I give a default value? Which size we given, right? Taken maybe default. Okay, no issues. Okay. Taken maximum. This is not valid. No such salary limit. Let's refresh it. Okay, salary you should pass. So when you want to try it out, just click on try it out, enter name here, Rajesh at Gmail, address, pin code, phone number, division, marketing head, salary, country code, execute. I got response body 1 with response code 201. So I believe it is created. Go to your database and you can verify it. Go to your database and you can verify it. Your data must be created in which table? Ecom manager table. Okay. Just to verify and close it. My SQL workbench. Which schema we are using? We don't know which database it is connected. We don't know really. How can we check? We need to check it via this profile. Under that dev profile, what we have schema, admin schema. So use admin schema and select start from new table. Ecom manager. So the data got created here. You can see this data imported here. You can see. Copy this row and show you. So this data got inserted, which I have given as a input. So your API is working perfect. Same thing you can test from Postman also, as I have shown. But that much Postman setup, collection setup or JSON setup not required, as Swagger is automatically generating this input structure for you. You can test it easily. Okay, via Swagger UI. This is default UI generated. All you know, right? Yeah. So this is how end-to-end use case you can implement. This is one example. Going forward, if you guys wants to code, right, I'll be sharing this repos with you. You can code, but usually it will take long time. Same story only, right? Same story only if we rewrite it again and again and also. But the main focus is on the tools deployment part and the end-to-end understanding, right? You guys can able to do this, right? You guys can able to easily do this, right? Same stuff. More and more configurations when I add, I'll show you how to configure gateways, how to configure, how to enable securities, logging. Okay, step by step we will go. Tomorrow what we will do, we will write other services methods also. Other services methods also. Admin service only manager API we have here. Only manager API we have here, right? Only manager API with all the methods like post method for creating it. Now you can easily understand them. Create manager method, and you have update manager method with the put mapping. You have delete to delete your entity. To get data, you have get mapping. To get all also, you have get mapping. Simple. Okay, same application I'll make it available for you in a Git project. I'll share that path with you so you guys can import and run it in your local also. These two projects I'll make it available. Microservice and config server. Will that be fine? Yeah. Same stuff, okay? If you understand one use case end to end for create, update, delete, bus. Coding is same again and again. Everywhere the same code. Just your entities will change, DTOs will change. That's it. Remaining process is same. Coding is easy in microservices compared with the other frameworks. Developer doesn't have much burden. Easy. One repository. Hardly how many classes you returned here? One model class, simple bean. DTO, again simple bean class. One repository, it's a purely interface. Nothing to do with it. Just a service class with your business logic. Whatever you want. And from here we auto-void a repository called save method. The save implementation, I'm not doing it. So this repository is generating during runtime implementation is provided by Spring. And I return one simple controller with request mapping, and as it is a post method use at the rate post map. If it is update method I'll be using put mapping. If it is a delete mapping. If it is a get mapping. I'll include all the methods, okay? I'll be including all the methods and share it with you, okay? So you guys need more and more practice. So then it is easy to similar service, keep it as a copy, okay? And create one project end to end yourself and try it. Even this config server also. I'll be sharing these two projects, these two with you, okay? Yeah, yeah. That's all guys for today. We'll meet tomorrow. Okay, so something interesting topics I want to pick up. Coding will be like boring. So yeah, let's do 1 2 use cases so that everyone will get some hands on. Then we'll see more from the cloud concepts, microservices. Yeah.